Okay, so I had helping and informing and sharing. So now let me turn to informing. And the informing and sharing I'm going to go through pretty quickly. I started maybe about 10 after, so I'll go through these reasonably quickly. Now, informing is something that and I'll talk about more tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm talking about communication. So I just want to do a brief little 5-minute spiel here on informing. That it's not very effortful for sure, but if our everyday conversation, we're quite often telling people things that we think are interesting or helpful to them. Somebody who only talks about things that are interesting to themselves is a bore, and we pretty much avoid them. And we academics know plenty of those people. But you're trying to talk to people about things that are interesting or useful or relevant to them. And in fact, we use this, as I'll emphasize tomorrow, to make interpretations. So if somebody just walks in your office and says something like, oh, I hear Cuba has the best weather in the world. Okay, what is that supposed to mean? Well, okay, if we've been talking about where to go on vacation before, then all of a sudden it makes sense. And I say, oh, but the assumption is that that this is going to be helpful for me. I'm asking myself, why does she think this will be useful or helpful to me? Oh, that's right, I was talking about where to go on vacation. So that must be it. But the assumption, that's what I'm trying to say, is the assumption is that it's cooperative, and indeed it is cooperative most of the time. And I would say that lying is parasitic on this cooperative assumption, because if we didn't assume that everybody was cooperative and helpful with their informing all the time, then we'd never trust them at all, and lying would never get off the ground. Lying gets off the ground because we're generally trusting that people are telling us things that are useful and interesting to us. Okay, this is not a common mode of communication in the animal world. Animal communication is mainly, most of it is biologically fixed. Biologists talk about things like antlers and coloration and stuff like that as communication. That's not mainly what psychologists would call communication. But any behavioral thing directed at another tends to be, I want you to do this, do that, get out of my way, mate, let me groom you, or whatever. It's something that I want to do. And the apes here, you can see a couple of quotes from the two leading teams of primate researchers who look at primate vocal communication. The first one is talking about how it's fixed, that listeners acquire information from signalers who do not even intend to provide that information. So, for example, an alarm call, you might say, oh, in a monkey alarm call, aren't they helpfully informing the others of the presence of a predator? Well, it turns out that what they're mainly doing is letting the predator know that they've seen him, and so I'm not a good target, because the predators usually want to go for somebody that has not been seen. So the other members in the group are informed by this. They know that there's a predator nearby. So from a biological point of view, information is transferred. They learn from this scream that there are predators nearby. But was that the intention of the screamer? No. His intention was to save his own hide. Okay, and Klaus Zuberbuehler says non-human primates vocalize in response to important events, like when they see a predator, irrespective of how potential recipients may view the situation. So they're not adjusting their speech for their thing for the other. Okay, so here's an example of informing, and this is a little study that we did where there's a woman who's here, and she has been stapling papers, and she's stapling her papers and whatnot, and then she puts the stapler down. She also has interacted with another object, and then she leaves. And this guy comes in. This is the first author here, Ulf Laskowski. He comes in, and he takes the other object and puts it here, and he takes the stapler and puts it here, and what you're going to see is you're going to see her come back. So focus on this one here. And she's going to come back with her papers ready to staple. Okay, this is a 12-month-old infant, pre-linguistic. Comes in with the papers ready to staple, and she's not going to use any language, but she's going to go, huh? You know, like, huh? Where's my thing? You know, I'm ready to staple. Where is it? Now you can switch over here. The kid does a little bit of a funny thing here. He looks back at the camera for some reason. But in any case, now you'll see a very nice little point to there. And a nice little, his eyes are going over like this. Okay? Okay, he's just saying, there it is. Now, when she grabs it and gets it, now the point is over because he's achieved his goal. She's got it. That's what he wanted. And that's the end of it. In a comparison condition, when we get an object that the kid really wants, it's a toy he's playing with and he needs another piece, and he points toward it, she gets it, and as soon as it's in her hand, then he just goes, okay? So he's not doing that here. So it's not that he wants it. What his goal is to inform her where it is. And we have a number of different situations where we've done that, and it's not that the kid wants it. Oh, this is another really quick one. You can see this happens very quick. Just watch here. She's looking for a little block to put in here, and it's hiding behind here so the kid can see it, but she can't. Again, it's going to happen very quick, so watch very quickly. He says, duh, okay? And he could easily lean over. He clearly doesn't want it, right? He clearly is not leaning over and doesn't want it, and he's happy when she gets it, and he has no interest in it himself. Okay? So this is, some people would not call this altruism or helping at all because there's almost no cost. I mean, how much? A couple of ergs of energy to just do this. It's basically no cost. But still, it is informing the other person of things that I would say, even at low cost, is in some sense helping. And this is a result slide from a study where we actually compared chimps and kids in their motives for pointing. And chimps don't point naturally. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. They don't point naturally in the wild. But for humans, they will. If there's food, they'll do something in that. They'll sort of go like this if they're captive in the cage, and humans will get them the food. And this is a little study where if you are getting food for chimps with this tool, and you come in ready to get them some food, but you can't find the tool, okay, they will move their body over here, and they will kind of go like this, and so that you'll find the tool and get the tool and give them food. So, and we did this with children chimps, and this is what you see. They're pointing toward it a lot. 80% of the time, they're pointing toward it when you use the tool to get them the food. Now, right about here, all of a sudden now we get the tool and we rake the food in for ourselves. Okay? Okay? So we start raking it in for ourselves. They don't like that very much. Okay? And what happens to the pointing to the hidden tool? Boom. Down to practically zero. It stays down here 0. It's not totally 0. We call that the hopeful response. You know, maybe you're going to change your mind this time. Okay, but it stays down here practically 0, and then here it is 0 for 2 sets of trials. Now we go back to providing it for them, and now all of a sudden they point to the tool again 80% of the time. Human children, they're pointing. You start, and you're getting it for them. Now you get it for yourself. They keep pointing. You go, where's the tool? They keep pointing. And we had one kid who really wanted it, who really wanted it, and the person comes in, and he's already taken it for himself the trial before, and he comes in and goes like this, and the kid kind of goes, you know, like I'm really not happy about this, but I can't help it. You come in and you go like this. What am I going to do? You know, I mean, I can't do nothing. You ask where it is. I have to answer, right? And if you think about the sort of normative, some of the normative constraints on on informing and helping, if we're at the dinner table and I say, could you pass the salt, please? You can't just say no. Okay, you can't, right? And what would happen if you did? Well, everybody at the table would go rigid. That would be step number 1. And then everybody would go back and gossip to their friends about what's wrong with this guy. We don't know what it is. On the other hand, I can't say, would you drive to the store and get me some salt, please? Okay, all right, that's too much. That's asking too much. So now I look weird because I'm asking a favor that it's not reasonable to ask. So we have norms about reasonable favors to ask, and if I ask a reasonable favor, then you have to do it or suffer some reputational deficit of us saying that you're not a nice person or whatever, and you'll have trouble recovering if you do that too much.